fellow traveler. Welcome to Third Eye Awakening, a podcast all about spiritual and psychic awakening, where we talk about the shift from 3D to 5D consciousness, the nature of time, space, the universe, multi-dimensions, starseeds, the Akashic Records, you know, all that good shit. I am your host, Amy Melissa. Thank you so much for being here with me today. All right, let's do this. Hey, beautiful kin. Welcome back for another episode of Third Eye Awakening. Well, I'm a few days late. It is what it is. It's Mercury Retrograde, number 1. Number 2, the apartment that I live in was having some work done this week, which was very loud and noisy and drilly all day long. So I didn't have any time to record my episode. But you know what? It's okay. It all unfolds in perfect timing. How is this Mercury retrograde treating you guys? For me, this has been one of the most intense ones that I can remember ever having, starting right away with the shadow period, like the day that the shadow period started. I started to experience anxiety, and it just increased and increased and increased. And eventually last week it reached a total fever pitch where I was feeling completely paralyzed with it. Like literally can hardly do anything except the basics of, taking care of my daughter and just showing up and being a human. But it activated my fight, flight, or freeze response, and I was in full-blown freeze, cycling through all kinds of PTSD. It was so bad that I would wake up at night with my heart racing, heart palpitations. My face broke out in hives so intensely that my eyelids were swollen, almost swollen shut, and I didn't even look recognizable as myself. It has been intense. It caused me to really question myself. My confidence plummeted. I went to dark, scary places within my own psyche that I haven't been in a really long time, years and years and years. And many tears were cried. Sobs, silent tears, desires to die so I didn't have to feel that anymore were felt. It's been rough. It's been a rough couple weeks for me. I seem to have turned a corner though, which is really nice. So some of that really fiery intensity is backing off. And even through it all, I could tell that there was no way through it but through it. I could feel that no matter how dark my thoughts were, how betraying my thoughts were, and I mean ugly thoughts, who the fuck are you to have a podcast? Who the fuck are you to post on social media? Who do you think you are talking to people? Who do you think you are existing? Just ugly thoughts like that I haven't had in a long time. Even through all of that, all of the activated PTSD from what felt like, the majority of the significant traumas I've experienced in my life, I could remember that in this moment, I'm actually safe and okay. And in remembering that, I was able to feel that this is necessary. This is necessary. It really felt like I was in a cocoon, like I wasn't allowed to move forward. I was in a state of suspended animation, and things were being torn apart within me, and the things that, aren't going to become who I am on the other side of this are being released, and the other parts of me that I'm keeping are being rearranged. So I still feel like I'm in that. I still feel like the rearranging is happening, but I'm starting to be able to see the form that it is taking, and that helps tremendously. So yeah, it's been pretty intense, pretty wild and crazy. Can't say that I've been loving it, but that's human life. And it is just a new level of ascension and awakening, just calibrating to the person that I truly came here to be. So, on that note, I am going to share a channeling that came through me yesterday on the topic of awakening and the sort of like collective desire to speed the awakening up on behalf of humanity and the planet in order to, make things better. This channeling just spontaneously came through me. It felt really good. I don't know who needs to hear it. I certainly needed to hear it. I hope somebody finds it helpful. I did record the next installment of Killian's story, but I just feel the pause, the royal pause that says, no, it's not time to share it yet. So I'm going to honor that and share this channeling in its place. But if anybody has been following along on Killian's story, and I know some people have because I can see how many listens every episode has received, I really will share how it all goes down in the end. Just bear with me. I hope you're all surviving this Mercury retrograde. I hope it's not so intense for all of you. But if it is, I hope you take heart in hearing how hard it's been for me too. Just insofar as I really believe that this is part of the process. It's a lot like I realized a couple days ago, as I just neared the first sort of real release from it, that it feels like the process of unmedicated labor and childbirth. And I was at the point where I had a day to myself at home alone, and I was crying, and I was like literally trembling with anxiety and just feeling like I can't do this anymore. I know this is happening for me, but I can't bear any more of this intensity. And I just felt like it was that moment where you're like, oh my God, uncle, I'm crying, uncle, like give me the fucking epidural. I cannot do this anymore. I can't do it. But of course I didn't have an epidural handy. If I had the constitution to drink alcohol, I probably would have reached for it, but I don't. It causes immediate terrible inflammation. I'm pretty sure I'm allergic to alcohol. So I just didn't have anything available. But I also could draw on my experience as a midwife and also as a woman who has given birth to remember that usually when it gets to that point, the release is not far off, and that there's something so incredible that awaits you on the other side if you can just keep putting one foot in front of the other and just, live through this moment and 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 face yourself in the depth of that intensity. There is something in exchange for that kind of grit and tenacity. So if you're going through anything intense right now, and whether it's related to Mercury retrograde or not, and you feel like you're at that point where you're crying uncle and you just want the goddamn pain relief, there's no shame in being there. There's no shame, and there's no shame in taking the pain relief. But there's also something incredible available to you that is, you still get it even if you take the epidural. Even if you still take the pain relief, you get the incredible thing. You just get it in equal measure and equal proportion to the intensity that you experienced. All right, that's it. I'm going to leave it there and share the message that came through yesterday. Because it was a spontaneous channeling, I just channeled it on my voice memos on my phone, and you can hear my cats being total turds in the background, making all kinds of noise. I apologize for the low audio quality, but I'm an amateur. What can I say? Thank you so much for listening. I truly, deeply love you, and I believe in you. Love you, fam. So as we awaken, we become more and more sensitive. Like, what does awakening even mean, first of all? My understanding of awakening is the remembering of ourselves as beings with a consciousness that extends beyond this particular lifetime and, is more powerful. It's like the remembering that we are not just a separate body. It can really feel separate on earth when we sort of have that cap on our consciousness, on our awareness and our remembering. When we think that we're just our individual selves, it feels separate. But awakening is the realization and the remembering on a deep level, a series of deep levels, because it's never just a one-time process, that we are more than that we are a soul, meaning an energetic consciousness, a current of universal magic that is self-aware, that comes in and out of incarnations, and that we are of the same substance, the same consciousness as everyone else, and therefore we truly are connected to everyone else. So awakening, essentially, it causes an increase in conscious awareness results or manifests or produces whatever, a higher speed of vibration. And like I said, the reason it's so painful is because you become, with this higher speed of vibration, you become more aware of the connectedness of everything and the illusion around everything and the oneness. And that's hard because there is a lot of pain and suffering on earth, particularly among humans. It's not to say that animals and plants don't have pain and suffering, because they most certainly do. But they don't hold it in their vibrational pattern for as long as humans do. Humans really ascribe meaning to it and integrate it as part of our story, and then continue to reproduce it over and over in different ways. We have a harder time just letting things be what they are. And so we perpetuate particular pain for much longer than we need to, but it's just part of the human experience. It's not a criticism. It just is one of the differentiating features of humans. That's sort of, that differentiate us from animal consciousness and plant consciousness and earth consciousness. At any rate, so awakening is fucking painful. It's like, it's so beautiful too, because how wonderful to be liberated from the illusion that we're like meaningless nothing, just an accident of biology in a cold, empty universe. It means that our pain has a greater, purpose isn't the right word. It has a greater potential, an alchemical potential. It means that our pain is not just random nothing, and that we aren't just random nothing. And so it's beautiful on one hand to awaken, but it's fucking painful because we become so much more sensitive to the sufferings of other beings, like so sensitive, and it can be really hard to reconcile that, and it can take a really long time to figure out how to reconcile that in a way that in such a way that we don't take on responsibility for pain that we don't have control over and we don't have responsibility for, and yet at the same time we acknowledge it. We don't turn a blind eye, and in so doing sort of allow pain and suffering to perpetuate itself unnecessarily. It's a very fine balance, and it just takes a long time to calibrate, and we don't really have, like, we've fucked up our elders and our elders have fucked us up. We live in a really messed up society, and so we don't have we don't have easy access to elders and their wisdom of how to do this. That's what we should have. We should have generations of elders who have lived through their awakening, and most likely, what we should have are elders who were never disconnected from their true essence, and so they're able to help us navigate. They have wisdom. They have hacks, right? Like life hacks for being sensitive and connected and awake to our true nature. We don't have that. We truly dishonor our elders, truly dishonor them currently in the system that exists. So a lot of us spend years and years and years and years and years feeling more sensitive than we know how to manage, and more aware of the pain and suffering of our fellow beings in this vibrational plane of existence than we know how to manage. And so we adopt really, varied coping mechanisms, many of which are super unhealthy, like substance use and things like that. Workaholism, just lots of behaviors that we use to kind of crowd out our sensitivity because it's just so unbearable. And now where we are in the awakening journey collectively is that so many of us have begun to awaken, and through the miraculous invention of the internet, we're able to connect with each other and communicate with each other. And so when we're aware of this process, we are aware that we're not, isolated freaks that for some reason just can't handle life. We realize that, this is something that a lot of people are experiencing. More and more people are experiencing. I'm not a freak. I'm not a reject. I am sensitive. I am waking up. And this is a shift that we are all experiencing together. So many of us have gone through this now that we have this community of woke people who have gone through enough of an awakening that they feel hypersensitive to the suffering of other beings, and they don't want to partake in it at all. And so, sorry, I'm going to sneeze. Bless me. So, it's kind of got a selfish motivation, to be honest. It's because we're woke enough to be deeply aware, uncomfortably aware of the suffering among our fellow beings in the paradigm that we've created for ourselves on Earth. And we don't like it, and we don't want to be part of it. We can't, like our so many of us, our psyches just will not allow us to be the bad guy. We can't handle it. We sort of default back into that duality paradigm of consciousness where it must be other people. Like, it can't be me. I am so aware of this pain, and it's so not okay with me that others are suffering, that I can't be part of it. I can't be part of the cause. Therefore, I must be part of the solution, as if it's so black and white. And this manifests in a kind of like level of judgmentalness that exists in this quote unquote like spiritual woke community, where we are wanting, basically we just want this discomfort, the discomfort of this level of awareness to be over. We don't want to feel so burdened by the awareness of the pain and suffering that exists. And we've decided that the problem is all the non-woke people. And to different people, that means different things. And so there's this sort of this urgency to wake everyone else up. We've got to wake everyone up, because once everyone is awoken, then we won't continue perpetuating this level of pain and suffering, and I won't have to feel this awareness of it anymore. We'll all be happier. We'll be doing better. And so fucking hurry up and wake up. And to a lot of people, that means like, you know, like they sort of use, they view it through different lenses. So to some people, the wokeness really resonates to them on the level of racial tolerance or religious tolerance or non-binary LGBTQ tolerance. To some people, it's around diet and lifestyle. It's around like ostentatious living. It's around wealth creation and hoarding. To some people, it's around plant-based diets versus eating animal products. And we just get really fixated within this woke spiritual community on pointing the finger at other people who are living in a way that we perceive to be unwoke. And as if we can just convince everybody else to stop doing the thing and wake up, that this discomfort that we're feeling will finally go away. But that's just not how it works. That's still a very linear cause and effect paradigm. It's a linear cause and effect way of seeing things. And the release from this experience of discomfort doesn't come from that place. That is the place that causes the discomfort. So awakening is like, it's not meant to be linear. It isn't. I mean, everything will be linear because we exist in a 3 to 5D bandwidth of vibration. So things do, like time exists, right? And we don't move from future to past to present to past. We move past, present, future. The unfolding happens in a particular direction. And the unfolding of time and space, time as we move through space, is it is linear. However, it appears linear, but it actually is. It's a cycle. It's a spiralic cycle. So the process of awakening is so much like imagine a beautiful valley full of wildflowers. And it's spring and nothing is in bloom yet. And then, of course, invariably one flower has to bloom first, or a few bloom first. So the early bloomers, the first bloomers, and then more follow, and then more follow. And soon the field is erupted in countless beautiful flowers in bloom, in full bloom. But there's never a point where every single flower is in bloom in unison, because as it reaches the point where everything is in, the majority of flowers are in bloom, the earliest ones start to die back, because blooming isn't meant to last forever. And anyway, if every single flower just erupted into full bloom right away, then it would be such a much shorter process. The beauty of the bloom would be over so fast. It's just not meant to happen that way. And we just don't need to worry about anybody else. We don't need to worry about waking anybody up. They will wake up. They will wake up. They are waking up. Think about how you would feel if somebody tried to force you and push you into a level of awareness and sensitivity that your nervous system is not calibrated for yet. How unfair is that? It's not okay. And especially because the motivation is to alleviate your own discomfort. It's not okay. We just need to let people unfold and bloom in their own time, in their own process, and know that it is perfect. The timing is perfect. It is beautiful. It is ideal. The suffering that exists here is part of the symphony, and it isn't to say that we should just, it's not to condone acts of cruelty. It's not to gloss over it and say that we should just not worry about our fellows, our kin, as they suffer. It's just that the eradication of suffering it's not within reach. It's not currently within reach. And so we have to find a way to cope and coexist with the pain and suffering that is here. And not only that, but as we point our finger at each other for not being woke enough, not living in the right way, for not being vegan, for not being, for being privileged, for being born white, for, not understanding the hardships of what others have gone through, marginalized populations have gone through, for being cisgendered and having that kind of privilege walking through the world. Like as we point our fingers at each other and declare that other people are part of the problem, we don't realize that we are perpetuating the problem, if you can even call it a problem. But we are perpetuating the paradigm of consciousness that keeps us in pain. Because the truth is that each of us contains within us the thing that we reject. I mean, like, we point the finger at each other for being intolerant, and we're intolerant of intolerance. We are judgmental of judgment. We are not, none of us is better than that. We really aren't. We are all human, and we contain within us the full spectrum of acts available to humans. We all contain within us the ability to be darker than we ever want to conceive of. And we all contain within us a brighter light than we even know. I remember when I really realized this, it was just this past summer, and I would get in these arguments with my partner because he kept he would just always like bring up conversations that were sort of like, they just smacked of colonialism, colonial views, kind of racist. I mean, he's not really racist. He just likes to get my goat, basically. But it would really get my goat. I hated engaging in these conversations, and it seemed to happen daily. And it would always be him bringing it up, and I would try to ignore it. And then eventually he would say something, probably once every 3 or 4 conversations, he would say something that I just couldn't not respond to, something frustrating, some comment on the, political situation du jour. And I was just feeling so frustrated about it. And I was like, why? Like, he wasn't like this when we met. Why is he doing this? And then I kind of thought about the fact that the boyfriend I had before I met him would also do the same thing. And the boyfriend that I had before that boyfriend would do the same thing. And I had to acknowledge that I'm the common denominator. I'm the common denominator. So what's going on? And I realized, oh, they're just reflecting back to me a piece of me that I am rejecting, that I need to integrate and accept about myself and stop judging. And I realized that I needed to accept and forgive and love my inner colonizer. So I'm a white woman living in Canada on Turtle Island, on the traditional land of many First Nations people. Particularly where I live is the traditional land of the Saugeen Ojibwe. And I don't want to be part of that. I don't agree with colonization. I don't want the original inhabitants of this land to be in the state of suffering that they are in and disadvantage that they are in. And I don't want to be living in a state of advantage where they're in disadvantage on their fucking land, on their land. I don't want to be part of that. But I needed to accept that I am part of that. I am part of that. And not only that, but within me exists the aspect that is okay with that. So that doesn't mean that I, Amy, am okay with that. That means that as a human being, the full spectrum exists within me, including the aspect that is willing to take from other people in a way that is genocidal and manipulative and completely dishonoring. So, and by default, and it exists within all of you as well. Now, the real beauty of being a human is that aspect exists within me, but I can choose to let it be dormant. I can choose to carry myself differently in the world and be different in the world. I can choose to do my best to not perpetuate that. Do my best, because we live in a very tangled system. But I can choose to have awareness. I can choose to see the people, the original people of this land, in their strength and their incredible resilience, their incredible beauty and resilience. I can acknowledge that I live on their land, and I'm so honored to be able to do so. I can do what I can to right the balance there, because free will exists, but that doesn't make me better than a colonizer. Do you know what I mean? That doesn't make me better than anyone. I'm not better than anyone. I'm just choosing what feels good for me. from the full spectrum of options available to me, which is what we all have. We all have all the aspects, all the roles, all the way to the darkest dark to the lightest light, and everything in between. We have all of it accessible to all of us in every moment, and we choose how we want to express ourselves, but none of it is inherently better than the other. And we're so conditioned to believe that pain and darkness and violence is bad, that it's inherently bad and unworthy and sinful, and I don't know, all those things that just make us feel full of guilt and shame. But the truth is, it's all God. It is the all. The full spectrum is the all, and the all is greater even than that spectrum. The all is greater than our human minds can conceive. So the point is this, that it's not for us to harass other people into waking up. Awakening is painful and beautiful. It is a sublime experience. And it is for everyone to experience on their own perfect time as they are ready. I've never met anybody who says that their awakening was peaceful and beautiful and not jarring. It is a very intense process, and nobody deserves to be, indeed nobody can be forced into it before they're ready. And we shouldn't be aiming to do that. It is disrespectful of each other, and it is with selfish motivation, and it's also not, it just isn't, that's not how it's going to unfold. The unfolding it's already occurring. It's occurring in its most beautiful, glorious process. And that pointing the finger at each other for doing it wrong is perpetuating the paradigm that causes us so much discomfort. That nobody can do it wrong. Nobody can do it wrong. It's so much more perfect than we realize. It's intricate and it's beautiful and it's temporary. Nobody is doing it wrong. That is Earth. It's a free will realm. Everybody has the right to choose. Everybody has the right to choose, and everybody is choosing in perfect accordance to their journey, their soul journey. It's okay that the world is still messy. It will be for some time. We are not... The process of moving into fifth dimensional consciousness is going to be so much like a field of wildflowers blooming. They won't bloom in unison. Everybody won't be around to see the full, the fullest peak of the maximum number of bloomings all at once. But it doesn't matter, because eventually the blooms are going to fade and we will go back into a cycle of contraction, because that's just how it works. This is a universe that goes through dilation and contraction and dilation and contraction. And every time that it dilates farther. The boundary extends farther than it did the time before. It's all in perfect order. If you are in pain because of your level of awareness through awakening and you don't know how to manage it, just know that the answer is always love. It is to love each other through our imperfection, love each other exactly where we are, love ourselves, love each other as we trigger the shit out of each other, love ourselves as we are triggered, love ourselves as we trigger others. Just love, 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 love. Compassion and love is the greatest power available to you, is to choose that in every moment. And in so doing, you just shine your light so brightly that you will inherently trigger other people to awaken in their perfect timing, not by forcing them, but by it's like an activation. You just activate. Their vibration kind of starts to meet your vibration, and it causes their vibration to rise. Anyway, you're perfect. You're beautiful. This is a really hard process. Being a human is really hard. We are shedding eons of pain. And we're all doing a really good job. You are magic. You are beautiful. You are so important on earth. You're so important in the tapestry. So important in the universe. I love you, my kin. Thank you so much for giving me an hour of your time today, your precious, precious time, and spending this episode with me. You just can't know how much it means to me that you're here. You are beautiful. You are perfect where you are. You couldn't be more perfect. You couldn't be more perfect. You are powerful. You are magic. You are needed, and you are wanted, and you are important in the world and indeed in the universe. If you enjoyed this episode, then please rate, review, and subscribe, and give a thought to sharing it on social media. I would appreciate it ever so much. Okay, fam. Until next time, take care.